Let's see, more than 15,000 in just 24 hours on a White House petition online. Does the president feel some pressure on his administration to bring a case against Zimmerman?
Cases are brought on the merits, and the merits are evaluated by the professionals at the Department of Justice. And the president expects, as in every case, that the process will be handled in the way it should be at the Department of Justice, and certainly not here. Can you go ahead?
He is an attorney. Does the president believe that there are merits to the case?
Again, I would point you to the president's statement for his reaction to the verdict and his statement about the verdict and the broader issues that he thinks we might all reflect upon. He will not comment on a Department of Justice investigation or on a decision that the Department of Justice will make about how to proceed, if to proceed.
Broadly, he said that we're a nation of laws. Does he feel the Florida Stand Your Ground law should change?
I mean, this is a state law that you're referring to. And again, within the context of this case, I just don't have any comment from the president to provide to you. That's something, again, that would be more appropriately answered by the Department of Justice.
Finally, is there any concern about what kind of message the verdict sends?
I think the president's statement reflects his views about the verdict, about the tragic loss of Trayvon Martin for his family, his community, and for the country. The fact that his loss reflects and symbolizes the loss we see daily in this country of young people to gun violence. And that's why I think the president's statement contained within it the elements that I described.
Can I follow on, Jessica, please?
Yes.
Jay, should the Martin family be encouraged to pursue a wrongful death lawsuit rather than wait for a decision by the Justice Department regarding the civil rights investigation?
April, I'm just not going to comment on any kind of decision like that the Martin family would have to make.
Well, okay. Well, when is the last time the president talked to Eric Holder, particularly about this case?
I'm not sure that I know the answer to that question. I don't believe that this is something the president views as a discussion he would have with the Attorney General, especially on the substance of the case or decisions the Department of Justice would make. That is something the Department of Justice makes, and they have talked about this and put out statements about it, and they will make assessments and decisions on the merits and on the evidence.
Well, tomorrow, Eric Holder, Kathleen Sebelius, and Sean Donovan will be in Florida addressing the NAACP, and one of the issues is on gun violence. And according to the NAACP, black males ages 15 to 19 were 8 times as likely as white males of the same age, and 2.5 times as likely as their Hispanic peers to be killed in gun-related homicides in 2009. And Kathleen Sebelius, Eric Holder, and Sean Donovan will be addressing those issues. What does the White House have to say, particularly as you can't push forward with gun legislation?
Well, the president has made clear his feelings about the failure of the Senate to act on common sense legislation that would have improved upon our background check system, legislation that has enormous support across the country in blue states and purple states and red states, and that the Senate should have approved. The fact of the matter is, and the president has spoken about this, he will continue to work with members of his administration to advance the cause of reducing gun violence using the powers that the administration has, but will also continue to try to impress upon Congress the need to have Congress act on this important problem and to reflect the will of the American people when it comes to common sense steps that respect our Second Amendment rights that the president supports. And that simply, in the case of the background check legislation, as we discussed quite intensively for a period earlier this year, would simply build upon and improve an existing system so that those who should not have access to firearms because they're convicted criminals or have a serious mental instability are prevented from obtaining them. It's a pretty simple proposition. So the President will continue that work, and I'm sure that the Cabinet Secretaries that will be speaking in Florida will talk about the need to continue that work. And you know, the President's package of steps to reduce gun violence included a number of 23, if I'm not mistaken, executive actions, and there has been significant progress on almost all of those, and the President will continue to press for those to be completed.
And lastly, the irony, your top cop in Florida at this time on that situation after the verdict for George Zimmerman.
Well, I'm sure that the Attorney General looks forward to having that conversation. The issues surrounding gun violence in this country remain. They remain a priority for this administration. So I want to anticipate what remarks he or members of the committee. These are important priorities for the President and his administration.
Eric Holder will be speaking momentarily here in Washington. He's speaking at the Washington Convention Center. We expect him to speak about the not guilty verdict in the Zimmerman trial. There you saw the White House Press Secretary Jay Carney speaking out as well, saying the White House wants everyone to calm down right now. The President not getting directly involved in what eventually will be a Justice Department decision, a decision by the Attorney General, whether to file civil rights charges against George Zimmerman. The White House Press Secretary saying that strictly up to the Justice Department. Gloria Borger, our chief political analyst, is with us. Gloria, I want to play a clip because Jay Carney didn't want to get personal in terms of the President's reaction right now, but he was very personal shortly after the whole killing. What happened in Sanford, Florida, erupted. This is what the President said then.
If I had a son, he'd look like Trayvon. And you know, I think they are right to expect that all of us as Americans are going to take this with the seriousness it deserves, and that we're going to get to the bottom of exactly what happened.
All right, Gloria, this is obviously an extremely sensitive issue for the White House, the Justice Department, the federal government as a whole to deal with right now, and they're as cautious as I assume they possibly can be.
Well, they're trying to walk a fine line here, Wolf. This is an African-American community in this country that's very upset. This is an African-American president, African-American attorney general. As you just showed, the president showed his own personal reflection early on in this case, saying that if he had a child, if he had had a son, his son would look like Trayvon. What they're trying to do right now, though, Wolf, is say that the country should remain calm, that this verdict, at the very least, needs to open an important conversation or continue an important conversation in this country. And then privately, I think what the Justice Department is trying to do is figure out whether they can actually bring further action. And the bar is very high for that, Wolf. If this were just a political matter, they might say, sure, let's do it. We can do this. But it's a legal matter, and the Justice Department doesn't like to bring cases that it can't necessarily win. Yeah,
if they were to bring these charges and lose in a federal court, that would be obviously a pretty serious situation. Gloria, we're going to continue this conversation. We're standing by. We're awaiting the Attorney General of the United States, Eric Holder. He's getting ready to speak at the Washington Convention Center. It's the 100th anniversary of a major sorority of the United States, the Delta Sigma Theta sorority, founded 100 years ago at Howard University. A lot of sorority sisters are here in Washington, and they're anxious to hear what the Attorney General has to say.